Alright guys, on this week's episode of Mike's Custom Works, we're going to start painting this tailgate. So, fenders are done, they're good to go, but I need some time to let them sit. So we're going to take off this diamond plate tailgate. First thing we're going to do is take the screws off. Then we're going to take off the brackets that are on the side here. Now see that the wire sits on here. This is a T45 torque screw. And this you just push in and everything else comes off nice and easy. So let's start taking this shit up off. Get it inside and get it ready for painting. Slip this out, but anyway, as you guys can see here, it's kind of slanted here, and it's basically you have the tailgate kind of like not fully latched but like half off latched, and you should be able to just pull this up and then push it in and up and slide it out and whatnot, and it slips out really easily. I've changed them before. This one was giving me a hassle, so I'm going to rip this one out, put it out. I'm going to show you guys the wiggling issue I have. Oh god, I don't know if anybody can, oh god, I don't know if anybody else can hear the excitement in my voice, because it's like as soon as I do one little minor thing, something else happens. You know, like I finally got the fuel leak done on the military truck, and I said, well, you know what, the sun was still out. Now the sun went away, of course. Let me see if I can get the tailgate out. So I put the fenders off to the side so they don't get scratched and damaged, and they can sit there and cure, and they're out of the way, and I can start messing around with this for the next couple days while I'm waiting on that. And then I started doing this, and I opened up a can of worms, and all of a sudden it got cloudy out over here. I'll tell you, man, if you're gonna work on a car, be single, no kids, no nothing. Because as soon as it becomes like $7 worth of work, it turns into like $1,000 worth of work with a matter of nanoseconds. But we got it nice and loose. You're gonna grab it like you're in college or a sharp board. And you grab the big bitch and put her somewhere now. Alright guys, as a disclaimer warning for the video you are about to be watching, I am not using the appropriate respiratory gear that you're supposed to be using when you're doing painting. So just because I'm doing it without it does not mean it's safe for you. A lot of paints have hazardous chemicals that are inside of it, so you better wear your gear on it. Even though I lack to do it, there's no good excuse behind it, but that is me coming to you guys. So if you see me doing it without it, you should definitely wear it. I'm doing it out of the carelessness of myself. So don't follow me with the non-protective gear. Follow the way the paint runs, and the paint runs beautifully. So always wear your protective gear, wear your gloves, wear your face mask, whatever you need. I got them. I can't always wear them. That doesn't mean you guys can't wear them. Okay? So you always want to make sure that you're safe. That's it. So that's my disclaimer to the beginning of this video. So make sure you wear your mask. Respiratory gear and stuff. You should be. I should be too. I have no good excuse against it. So always wear yours. Don't blame me if you got problems because of it. Thank you. Enjoy the video. Alright guys, so we got ourselves another episode for the 01 Dodge Ram remodeling. Overhaul, upgrade, what you want to call it. What we have right now sitting on the floor right there is the tailgate for the truck. So now the tailgate I bought a while ago after an accident, and I put it on the truck and never did anything about it because I really wasn't sure how I wanted to paint it, and I wasn't really sure what was going to happen from there on out. So just like before, like we did with the fenders, we're going to hit it up with 1600 grit sandpaper. We're going to use the wax and grease removal, because this thing's been sitting on this truck for a good 4 years before it even touches. So here's a good example. Those fenders came out of a box brand new. This has been sitting on the truck through multiple rains, snowstorms, sleet, road gunk, etc. So this is actually going to probably take a lot more prepping that's required for this than we actually did on those fenders that came right from a box. But this process is still the same. I'm not going to cover over the handles like most people are. I'm just going to cover them. I'm going to paint them over blue, so I'm not worrying about those whatsoever. But we are going to go from the scuff pad. Once we scuff it down, we're going to do the grease remover, do the safe way, check it. Then we're going to start hitting it with coats of primer, 10 minutes between them. Doing about 4 coats of primer on it. Let that dry. Hit it up with the scuff pad. Then we're going to wet sand it at 600 grit. Spray it down again with that safe way. And then we can start doing the base. And each coat of base, we're going to do 15 minutes between it. And then it's the same thing as before. You hit the Safeway cleaning again, and then we hit clear coat, and hopefully we'll get this done in a quick 5 days. I'm not going to paint it while it's on its back. I'm going to have it propped up when I paint it. But for the time being, I'm going to do this whole surface area the way this is, laying on its back, so it's a little easier for me to get in there and scuff it and scrape it and so on and so forth to get what I want out of it, and then hit it with the Safeway, because it's going to be tough when this thing is close to the ground because of these edges. So it's not going to be propped up completely straight, but it's going to be propped up enough so that I can actually work and deal with it. Because there are some edges and stuff that I want to try to get to on here. And then over the top of the door, if you see what a browning is, there's actually an aluminum covering on the top of it where the diamond plate sits on it. So a lot of that's going to not be seen. I'm still going to paint it, but it's something that you don't have to worry about. And you can see, since I've had this thing, the amount of scrapes and scratches I got in it already. And it's just been sitting on my truck. You know, stuff hits it, wood and 2x4s and shit. And that's why with this whole remodeling of the truck, you know, I'm going to try to be extra careful now than normal. It wasn't like I was lacking before. It was just, you know, shit happens, but, you know, try to stay away from that shit from happening. So let's start scuffing it up. Always wear gloves. And I wasn't really doing it before, but everybody should really wear a mask when you're dealing with paints and stuff like this. I've been doing it for so long, it's not a good excuse, but, you know, your health matters. So, let's get this shit going. Alright guys, so as you can tell, had the tailgate sitting for a couple days. It's nice and thoroughly dried out. First thing we're going to do is we're going to hit it up with a scuff pad. We're going to lightly scuff it at that 1600 grit. Then we'll chase that with 600 grit sandpaper with some water, like I did before, where I dunked it into the water, kind of got nice and saturated, and then just gave it a really nice sanding, getting it really nice and smooth. Clean it up with the Safeway, and then check it again if it needs to get a little more fine tuning on, you know, making sure it's nice and smooth. That was wet, sanded it, it's smooth to the touch, it's great. Just sprayed it with the Safeway cleaner. I wiped it down. I'm not going to jump on it right away and start putting paint down yet. I want to give it good like 15-20 minutes before I start painting it, just so I know that it's thoroughly dry. Then I'm going to inspect it to make sure it's dry, because basically with that handle, there's little crevices that the stuff can get into. This stuff dries up pretty quick, but I like to give it a little bit more time. You can still see that it's actually kind of has that like dampish look to it that you're starting to see now as I'm talking right below the handle, and I'm trying to see it on my camera in that area. So I'm just going to let it do its thing and just watch it and see if it's going to nicely mellow itself out. Alright guys, so it's actually been quite a few days before we've touched anything with the tailgate. We had working on the military truck, and you know, I ran out of paint for it, so my brain is trying to remember where I left all my shit in here. I'm playing Marco Polo for everything because I moved stuff around and working on something else, working on the truck, and etc, etc, etc. So being that we haven't touched the fender in about the tailgate in about a week, so basically what you kind of want to do from here is kind of touch up where you left off. So first thing I'm going to do is, because it's been sitting, it was just one coat, like 1 or 2 coats of paint I did on it. I don't want to jump on it right this second and start painting it. So first thing I'm going to do is, inside the kit they give me these static control wipes that have a little alcohol in them. So I'm going to take the wipe. Same thing as that static pad that I was using before, but now this is just a big wipe. It's a really big wipe. Big static wipe, it's alcohol too, so it's going to clean up the surface, all the dust and dirt. I can actually see the pollen that's actually on it. So I want to get rid of all that pollen and shit before I go back and start painting it again. It's just a nice wipe, 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 like the song, wipe, wipe, wipe. It's actually wiping the glue off, which isn't good. Or maybe don't use it on painted surfaces. See how it's wiping all that glue off, unfortunately? That's not good. So this static stuff that they have, it's good for an untreated surface, but being that it was painted, it's wiping the paint off. So I'm going to go and hit that with the Safe Clean. Try to frickin' frack and save it. Let's see. Is that the last can? I guess so. Once that's wiped off and dried, then I'm going to go back to what I was using before. The actual tack cloth that has no alcohol in it, so we don't have this issue again. So those pads that I was talking about, don't use them, don't waste your time with them. Obviously it's going to take the paint off if you're doing in-between painting. You know, you have some time in between, like I do. I'd say don't use them, because otherwise it's taking your paint off. I don't want that. See how it took off a lot of that paint? This is going to sterilize that from happening any more than it already has. Cleans the surface up. I gotta find paints that fit me. I always like to double towel it. Towels you can always wash in your dryer or washing machine. You don't want to wash towels in your dryer. Put them in the washing machine, then you put them in the dryer. So clean it nice. I sneeze. No, not again. Oh, enough of this frickin' pollen. Holy shit. Okay, don't sneeze on your work. Otherwise you get it all wet. So I'm going to let that dry for a bit. Give it about like 10-15 minutes at the most. Once I feel like it's getting dry and it's good, I'm going to hit it with that tack cloth, get any lint or anything else that blows onto it while I'm waiting for that to dry off, and then we'll start hitting it back with the coats of paint. Especially now that I took some of the paint off. So those little pad things that I said that are in here, the static control wipe, don't use them if the stuff's on a painted surface. Probably says that in here. Don't use on painted surfaces. Nope, does not. So, don't use on painted surfaces. That's what I'm going to tell you, because it doesn't say it on here, and you're not going to know until you do it just like I did. Alright guys, so let's start laying down the paint. I'm going to hit with the tack cloth quick. Make sure I got nothing else on it. Alright guys, so you see we did a couple quick coats on it. We did one coat down, one coat up. I gave it about 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes, and then I hit it with another nice brushing coat, going from one side to the other, trying to fill in the spots that accidentally got removed when I was using that wipe. So, what I'm going to do now, because it looks good, and if I put too much more paint on it, it's going to run. I don't want it running. Once it runs, there's no fixing it. You gotta wait till it dries out, and then you gotta try to go back and fix it. And that's a real pain in the ass. I hate doing that. So, at this point, I'm gonna let it sit for, I'm gonna say roughly about a good hour. Because, I don't know if you remember from before with the fenders, this doesn't stay shiny like this at all. This will then start going down to like a flat finish where it's got like a little bit of a light, like a satin sheen to it. So, I'm gonna let it do that first before I do any other coat. So basically, so far I've used is 1 can out of the 4 cans I bought. So I bought 4 cans of base color. I've only used just about 1 can. The can is almost done. I was having little issues on the bottom. It was starting to sputter and spit. I don't want it to spit. So what I did is that when I saw where the fan was good and where the fan was bad, I had the bad part of the fan hitting the ground and the good part of the fan hitting the spots that I wanted to hit at. Now, how am I going to combat this with a day where it's like a little polleny? What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my garage door and I'm going to bring it down to the top of a paint can so that it stops the amount of pollen and shit from coming in the garage. I would like it to vent, but I can't risk that with the pollen that's outside. I mean, you saw me sneezing before, and that's just in here. So, I'm going to pop this like such. And I'm going to lower my garage door and have it sit on top of a paint can or anything. I got cans of crap everywhere. Paint can works. Paint can is a good size, like these paint cans. You let it sit on top, it has enough airflow to vent out, but it's not going to have that pollen that's going to fall down and flutter and then get into the garage. It didn't cause issues to finish because it's still a little breezy outside. So I'm just going to do that now, and in about an hour, hopefully she'll be ready to do either another coat, or if it looks good enough and I could say, alright, that's it, then I'm going to let it harden, let it dry for 24 hours, and then hit it with some clear coat. We'll see what happens. Alright, so after some time of it sitting, starting to come out looking a little nice, I'm going to hit it again with some paint. And then after that, I'm going to let it sit for about 2 hours. You let it dull down a little more than it already has. This is still that first can. I might jump into the other can, and then we'll see what happens after 2 hours. About 24 hours. And once it sits, then what we're going to do is we're going to go over it, make sure everything's all nice and smooth, Got either wet sand it, little scuffing, little clean it up, and get it all nice and smooth, so we can hit it with the clear coat. Now this time, instead of using the clear coat that I got from Scratch Happens, which came out good, don't get me wrong, which was these cans, I bought these other cans that I heard about that are really great. Now, why didn't I use them on the fenders? Well, because I found out about them later on. And they're from Eastwood. And it's a high gloss finish, 2-component catalyzed technology, most durable aerosol clear available, sprays like a paint gun. That should be interesting. Apparently you take the cover off of this and then you hit the activator on the bottom and you smash them and you shake them and then you get whatever you get. So I've seen it in videos. It's a 2K aero spray clear coat, high gloss finish. Let's see what happens with it. I bought them after I did the fenders with their clear coat. I think I can go over it if I need to. I probably really shouldn't. Probably really don't have to. Who really knows? But my tailgate is going to be my test subject for that. So, Eastwood, do the job right. Let's see what happens after this dries. These cans are really heavier than the other clear coat cans. But they got like an activator inside, you hit it, and I gotta watch the video on how to activate it after you whack it and how long you have, and so I can tell you guys and all that other jazz. Well, yep, that's the last coat of it. It might need a little bit of scrubbing down and stuff just to make sure it's all nice and smooth. But I'm gonna give it a good 24 hours plus, just to make sure that it's solid at that point before I do anything touching. Because the last thing you want to do is wait like 4 hours and then touch it with your hand and then go to hit it with a sander and you find a wet spot and then you fuck it up and then you need more paint. And then the video gets longer and longer and longer. So just let it sit. Let it sit for 24 hours, 48 hours, 3 days, 2 days, 6 months, whatever the hell you need. I'm going to let it sit for a good 24 hours. Just let it settle on itself. Let it do what it's got to do. We'll go back and do a little light sanding on it. Get it all ready for clear coat. Do same thing as I said before. I'm going to let it sit out. Shut the garage door down so no pollen gets inside of here and messes up my beautiful paint. Alright guys, so it's next day, obviously. I'm going to get my gloves on before we start rambling on again. So now, paint looks really nice on it. Has like a nice little shiny gloss to it after the fact of it getting all those layers that we did on it yesterday. So now I'm going over doing that little tack. And it's not tacky at all. It's nice and dry. And feels nice. Okay. All right, I'm good. Let's get rid of that. All right, so it feels nice and good. So now what I'm going to start doing is the 2K spray from Eastwood. Now this is the first time of me using this company from Eastwood. First thing I'm actually going to be doing is I'm actually going to put a face mask on for this. So nevertheless, so you always want to read the instructions. It says definitely wear a respirator because of the miscellaneous crap in it. So what basically, let's just talk about what this paint is. I'm going to put a link in the description, 2 links. One link is going to be from Eastwood, the other link is going to be how to paint little small projects like that, and that's what this is really used for. This isn't really meant for doing a whole car. If you want to, like everybody else does a rattle can car, I've done them before, go right ahead. But this can is expensive. This can's 50 bucks each. Okay, now I got it from Amazon. It was the only place that I could find that can send it. Now you have the activator cap on top that goes into this on the bottom. You put it on and it just, you know, you'll put it down and just pop it like that and it activates the stuff. But before we do that, what this is this has the ability, it's a 2-component catalyzed technology that's in it. So basically what it is, it's going to give a nice durable finish. Now why didn't I use it on the fenders? I didn't find out about this product until after I painted the fenders with the clear coat that I got from Scratch Happens, and I'm happy with it. I don't think I can get it any more of a deeper shine than what's already on those fenders. So with that being said, I want to try something different and just see how it comes out. Just like before, I'm going to be doing a little bit at a time, sporadically all over it, from different angles, and then doing a nice brush stroke over the whole thing so everything blends in nicely. So it says on the back of the can, it's you want to shake it for at least like 2 minutes. Then you put the red cap under it. Don't take off this cover when you activate it in case you pop the sprayer out. You know, you spray yourself. Put on a sturdy surface. You can do a bench or the floor. I'm going to have to do the floor because I can't really get over there. I could, but I really can't. And I think I have a bench over here, but this bench really isn't the sturdiest, so I prefer not to use that. And then shake it for another 2 minutes. Once activated, the pot life, that's an interesting word, the pot life is about 48 hours inside the can. Apply to a clean surface, use side to side strokes, 10 to 12 inches from the substrate, which is what that is. You can also adjust the angle of the spray nozzle tip at 90-degree increments, depending on how you want to spray it, yada 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 yada. So we're going to shake this up for 2 minutes straight, and then we're going to activate it and get it all situated. But apparently it's supposed to give what's inside this rattling can, which everybody right away hates. As soon as they see a rattle can, you're not doing it the right way. Basically what this can does is it has everything that's going to be inside your regular spray gun. The only difference is it's for like a small job such as this, the fenders and the hood, where you don't want to get your spray gun and your tank and all your stuff ripped out, pull it out and get it all full of paint and mix it, and you know, you got this whole big batch and then you only use a little bit of it at a time. I don't know if I'm going to use this full can on that tailgate. I might. It's not that big of a can, as you can see where my fingers are, right? 4 fingers from the bottom and almost 4 on top. It's really not that big of a can. It's really not a lot of paint in here, and it's like really something for something small. Like I said, I'm probably only going to use one of these just to do that tailgate. I bought a couple of them and stuff in case I like it, or I needed more, because sometimes, you know, like you saw painting that yesterday was 4 cans of base that I put on there. So I have no more base paint anymore for blue, which is good because I don't need any more, but I might end up buying some more for touch-up and stuff down the line. But nevertheless, so we got that all prepped. It's all ready to go. All we're waiting for now is for me to shake this and get it going. But I'm really curious to see how it comes out. It's supposed to have like a really wicked OEM, or not OEM, but a very wicked, like if you did it out of a gun, because that's all they did. They took that idea that you use professional tools and they stuck it in a can for small jobs. I don't know how many times I'm going to just repeat this. If you guys just want to watch the Eastwood video, the guy explains it fast in like 30 seconds instead of me in 5 minutes. So I'm going to shake the can up instead of wasting footage of you watching me just doing this for 2 minutes straight. And then once it's all nice and ready, then I'll pop it and we'll get the painting and let's see what happens. And just like before, I'm going to do like those half strokes all the way down, then give it like 10-15 minutes, go back and do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again until the can runs out, or I'm happy with you know, what we get. And then I'm going to give it a good 2 days before I take it from the garage and I install it back on the truck, because basically that is what's holding me up, and that's going to be basically the end of this episode, is once I'm done painting that. Because in the next part of this episode, the next episode, I'm basically going to be doing is I'm going to be tackling the hood of the truck, where I'm going to be taking the hood of the truck off, putting it inside of here. It's got to get Bondo on the different spots that I had to fix. There's dents and dings in it from the shipping. I found the photos of it in my phone, so I'm going to put the photos in this video so you guys can actually see like how the fenders were actually packed, and I'm not bullshitting you guys. So anyway, that's going to get pulled off. It's going to get sanded. It's going to get Bondoed in the spots that it needs to. Then it's going to get nice and sanded. And I'm probably going to, I don't know if I'm going to do like a glossy black hood, or I'm going to do like a flat black hood like my Challenger had before I polished it to where it is. Like my Challenger had once, like if you see all the Challengers, they have a flat black hood. And what I ended up using was Meguiar's from CMX, which is made by Meguiar's. It's a ceramic hybrid, or ceramic coating, whatever the hell it is. And I put it on one day and I really like went ham on buffing it for like, not even with a buffing wheel, just like with just like a nice soft rag. And I just completely like cleaned the hood and it looks so good. And then after the fact, it stayed shiny, and I was like, oh man, I lost my flat hood. But I didn't really care because it actually looks really good, having a little bit of a sheen to it. So with that mindset, then a black hood on the truck is going to look nice too, instead of making it blue. Because I think the black on the hood is going to complement other stuff that's black on the truck, such as the mirrors, the push bar, and the dual giant tugboat horns that are on top of the truck. Mr. Wacko over here. Anyway, so let me shake my can off camera, and we'll get to painting. Alright guys, and that wraps it up for this episode. Mike's Custom Works on the Dodge Ram overhaul build. We put our last coat of clear coat on, and you can see that looks amazing. That looks really nice. It is wet as a lake. It's going to get better as it dries out. It's going to look a lot better. So next week's episode, this is going to be getting installed. The hood is coming off, and we're going to be prepping the hood up, getting it painted black, and hopefully by then the paint should arrive for that. If not, then this might be in a couple weeks or so, but for that episode. But that's it, guys. So you saw the different steps that we did with the fenders, the way we did this. The hood's going to be exactly the same way, and hopefully soon enough we can get everything packed together and installed on the truck so we can jump down the road of getting the air horn installed. I'm still waiting on confirmation of when to ship the rest of the parts for my grill. I got to track down some other parts in my garage that I currently can't find right now because everything is a whole big giant mess. So when we get this sucker out of here and back on the truck, then hopefully we can find our missing parts. But anyway, guys, that's it for this episode. Like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I did. Well, sort of, sometimes half of the time. But anyway, guys, that is it for today's episode.